All right, everybody, we're going to do a quick tabletop review of Steyr AUG. This is a Steyr AUG A3. I got a video up of me shooting it a couple of weeks ago. I guess we'll go through a few things about it. If you have questions, feel free to make a comment in there. We'll kind of hit the pros and cons first and maybe do a field strip. I guess I'd start for pros on this. Obviously, this is a 16-inch barrel. It's very short. It has a quick change barrel, which is easy to change, although they're very expensive. I kind of wish that that they'd come out with a 300 blackout barrel for this. I don't know why they haven't yet, because all it would be is a 10-second barrel change, and you could go between 300 blackout and 5.56. I've probably got about 2,000 rounds through this thing, and it's been very reliable. No jams, no issues. The magazines, this came out in the time when ARs had kind of notoriously crummy magazines, but these over the years, they haven't changed from the original design, and they're really good. Tough, light. You can see how many rounds are in them. For you guys that are deep into ARs, you can get, it's called a NATO stock, and it'll take AR mags. And what you lose with that, and it's a pretty good deal. And now that AR mags are a lot better than they used to be, it wouldn't be a bad way to go. But what you do lose with that is I believe you lose the last round bolt hold open when you go to the NATO stock. And that doesn't work. So, that's something to figure in too. But all in all, these magazines are great. I bought these on a place called manventure.com, I think. They were pretty reasonable. I got a couple of the 42 rounders just to try. And ironically, or interestingly enough, you would think when you shoot prone that would really get in the way, 42 rounder, but they're actually not that bad. You might have to get up on your elbows a little bit more, but it's completely doable. If you could find a pouch or a vest that'll hold them, it's not a bad way to go. All in all, I guess coming from like an AR or AKs, this thing runs extremely clean. Cleaning is just almost hardly necessary unless you've dropped it in the mud or had it in a lot of dust or dirt. Just a really clean running thing. Nothing gets back in the action. Everything is up on the piston up here, which is easily serviceable. So that's nice. Clean running. So that's kind of the pros. Short, lightweight. It's likable. And I'll get to some of the things that maybe people don't talk about, or some of the cons. First of all, it's expensive. You could probably build a really custom AR for what you'd have into this. So, it does have a combat track record, and it's, like I said, it's very reliable. One thing I can't get over, well, actually two things. It's really loud to shoot. I'm not sure if it's because the muzzle is closer. I would assume so, but yeah, it's loud. It's almost unpleasant that way compared to a 16-inch AR. You're a lot closer to the end of it. And to me, surprisingly, it's heavy. A lot of times I think numbers in a book don't really mean much. A lot of guys will say their FN is this, it's lighter than an HK or G3. I think a lot of it's subjective, but for these, 8 some pounds, which doesn't sound that bad, but the good and the bad of it is it's all balanced right here. And the good of it is if you're opening a door or you're doing something, which isn't probably all that much, it's balanced. You can hold it with one hand easily. The bad part is this hand, it's not really doing much. It's not holding that much weight. I mean, most of it's with your dominant hand. So it feels like that one arm is carrying most of the weight. I kind of find it somewhat tiring. So that's kind of the nature of the beast. For something that looks as plasticky and as much plastic that's in it, it's deceivingly heavier than you would think. As far as optics, I've gone through a couple different phases. Right now I've got this, what do you call it? The CMR Hilux scope, 1.4 or 1 to 4 power. It's okay, not the greatest class. Of course, only 4 power, doesn't need to be, but I don't know. And then what I've had before also is aim point, and this is a patrol rifle optic, and these are bulletproof. It's just a dot sight, no magnification, but I think I might go back to that. It was just better, simpler. As much as you'd think you'd like the reticle on here, I found it hard to use, hard to range find. It was too, I think it's on the second focal plane, so it doesn't really range find unless it's on full power 4, and it just seems to be too fine. The combat part, the horseshoe part, seems fine, but if you're trying to do range finding, it seemed like it was too precise almost. So I don't know, I don't really like it. I've had this thing on a few different rifles and I haven't found it a home yet. So some of the features here, last round bolt hold open. Take the barrel out, you just push that lever with your thumb and that pulls out. There's a cross bolt here. You push that to the side. Takes a lot apart. I find the bolt carrier and all that stuff in here a little overcomplicated. It looks AR-ish, you know, the bolt, but there's a strange sleeve on there. I'm not really sure what the point of all that is, but it does seem to work reliably. And then in the back here, you've got this strange, the sling swivel pin holds in the trigger pack, which is all plastic. So you've got to push this membrane in the back and pull that pin out. That's your butt cap. And your whole trigger pack comes out like that. And most of the rest of this is just plastic. One thing I noticed when I was shooting, you can kind of see that trigger here. You know, if you were holding it like this, you could get your finger in there. You'd be fighting against the way you're holding the trigger. So that's something to be aware of. Don't get your finger up there. You know, you kind of see how it goes back and forth. A lot of people complain about the safety. I don't have a problem with it. It's just like a 1022 or something. You know, it's a little rough, but I don't have curly hands. It doesn't seem to bother me. One thing I noticed when we put this back together that nobody makes any mention of is down in here, there's a little fork on the bolt hold open. And you have to be careful when you put the trigger pack in that you engage that the right way. Otherwise, I had it together one time and your bolt hold open won't work. You'll scratch your head and wonder why. And that's why. There's a little fork in there, and if you don't have that engaged when you put the trigger pack in, your bolt hold open won't work. And it's got a little spot in here for your cleaning kit, cleaning supplies. Doesn't come with the rifle. I had to order that extra, but I thought it was neat. I kind of like that. So this goes back in here. Got hooks on the bottom. Kind of a strange setup, but it works. when I first got this rifle, it had a horrible trigger pull. And I tried one of the Ratworks replacement sears, and I put it in, shot a few hundred rounds, really liked it. It really did improve it, but then suddenly, after a few hundred rounds, it occasionally would double. And I've got no time for that. So I took it out and I sent it back. In the meantime, I had called them a few times trying to figure out what was going on, but we never really did figure it out. And in the meantime, after shooting a few thousand rounds through it, shockingly, the trigger it did break in. It got a lot lighter. I'm not going to say it's a target grade trigger, but it is doable. I'd say it's on par with the worst AR you've ever shot, which would be probably 8-pound trigger pull with some creep. So, yeah, that's not too bad. So I'd wonder too if eventually they'd come out with a 300 blackout barrel, because all that would be is a simple barrel change, something like that. Take out your 5.56, put in your 300 blackout, and you're ready to go. Use the same magazines, same bolt. So it'd be a neat option, you know. Something that you think would be fairly popular if it ever came out. So I guess that's my tabletop review. If you guys have any questions or comments, feel free to post something. And we'll talk to you guys later. Bye.